Hey YouTube, what is going on? A good Friday night to you all. Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael Lee Sanders here of the RCWR show, coming at you all with another installment. It's our second volume, our second edition of listener questions and some random stuff. So we're still kind of finding our way through this. I do appreciate you guys that had checked out last week's first volume. There was a lot of good questions that came in. Sadly, and I'm going to actually try to get in contact with YouTube support to see if maybe they are working on this workaround, but I'm noticing like when we initially do the stream live, there's like a boatload of interactions amongst you all. Some of you all are asking some really good questions, and see, unfortunately, once the live stream is over, there sadly is not an archive of what you all were saying. So I like literally, once the stream is over, I have to like hurry up, go back and see what all was being said and try to filter out any questions, like pluck them, write it down, all that good jazz to try to use for the very next installment. So y'all had posed some good questions. I thought for sure I was going to be able to go back and retrieve them, but sadly I was not able to. So we'll see how this goes. We're doing a continuation of our first volume, and I would highly encourage you guys to go check out the first volume so you all are kind of like caught up to speed. But like last week, we had tackled the whole idea of how things would go in my perfect world with regards to a new shield stable. Now, from my standpoint, in the conversation I brought up last week, I had talked about how, like, if it was up to me, I would actually have the three original members reform the Shield. I would have Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. I would love to see the three originals get back together. So go check that out. I made some pretty good arguments with regards to why, and I think you all will agree with it for the most part. So now the second installment that I'm doing with you all in a keeping up with continuity, we're going to be tackling, okay, so let's say we could just home in on one guy only from the original Shield stable. How would I like go about a new Shield stable? Who would the members be around this guy? So for this week, I'm going to tackle Roman Reigns. Now, we're not going to do like a 7-part miniseries of this. I'm only going to do this installment and then one more installment. And the last installment, which will be next week, we're just going to tackle just a whole new Shield stable from scratch without even using any of the original Shield members. I think you'll all have a lot of fun with that one. I've tried not to look at the comments too from you guys that like we're trying to post your ideas on who you like to see as members, because I don't want to get like, oh yeah, let me, I want to just come natural with my own ideas for this one. All right, so for me, homing in on a particular Shield member, I would like to build a new Shield stable around Roman Reigns, quite honestly. Now, I know some people may be saying, oh, Lee, do we really? Just hear me out for a second. For me personally, just looking at the fact that Roman Reigns gets some type of a reaction from the crowd, be it good or bad, just the fact that he gets a reaction from the crowd, period. I mean, that's freaking awesome when it's all said and done. I freaking love it, right? But you got so many people that's constantly hating on Roman Reigns that it makes no freaking sense whatsoever. So I have, for the longest time, been infatuated with a Roman Reigns going the heel route. Now, do I think something like that could play out in the immediate future? Just looking at the current landscape of the WWE right now, and just being brutally honest with you all, with this brand split that we have going on, Raw really needs some type of a dominant babyface. They need some type of a merchandise seller. And yes, New Day, they're doing their thing. You can kind of say they're heels. You can kind of say they're baby faces. You can definitely say that they're tweeners, but they're selling merchandise. But as far as like who's going to be doing the media rounds, who officially is going to be like the face of the WWE, you can just basically pluck them and put them in the middle of who knows where. and like a flock of WWE fans are gonna go running to them, almost kind of similar to a John Cena, a Hulk Hogan, a Stone Cold, a Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Uh, I don't know if Roman Reigns is even close to touching that, but just looking at the current landscape right now, and at least looking at things from the Raw standpoint, Roman Reigns is like the top guy. He is the guy. He is that babyface guy right now. So if you ask me straight up, do I see that happening in the immediate future for Roman as far as going the heel route? I don't see it just yet. I would be a little bit perplexed if that was a route that they would go. I still kind of feel as though Seth Rollins needs to be a bit more established as a top baby face. And to WWE's credit, they've been doing a solid job with that. But I think Seth Rollins needs to be elevated a bit more in that direction in order to have Roman Reigns. And you can just tell from the weekly promos that he's involved in, just the swag that the man has overall. You can just tell he would really make a great transition as a heel. So I think when Seth finally gets to that point where just everybody, and it's slowly but surely happening, everybody loves them some Seth Rollins, then and only then do I think we'll finally see Roman Reigns flip the script a little bit. But until then, it's going to remain at where it is right now. But in my world, if Roman Reigns was going the heel route, his Shield stable would be a force to reckon with. I have been a big fan of these guys from the moment that I first laid eyes on them down from NXT. Anybody that has listened to the podcast that I do weekly for you guys, you know how much I love these guys tremendously, which, by the way, if you aren't checking out the podcast, then you're really missing out because I pretty much do a big bulk of my stuff with the podcast. You can catch that Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker.com. If you can't catch it live, it's also available on demand on the downloads on various platforms, iTunes, Stitcher. It's all over the place. All the links that you need if you're checking this out on your tablet or desktop is in the video description of what you're checking out right now. But I have been a big fan of the authors of Pain, Razier, and Akam. I would really, 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 if it was me, I'm setting this up Roman Reigns and those guys. I mean, just the three of those guys together, they just look like three badass looking mother, you know what, that you do not want to see late at night. And heaven forbid you got to cut through an alley because you decide you want to like take a shortcut just to, I don't know, get to your house or wherever. And you see these three guys, you kind of want to haul ass and go back in the opposite direction. So for me personally, Razier, Akam, Authors of Pain, yeah, that would be the route that I would freaking go. And don't get me wrong, some of you all may also be like kind of hearing that right now, and some of you may be saying, well, Lee, what exactly would you do with Paul Ellering? Paul Ellering would definitely be tagging along for the ride. Quite honestly, I wouldn't have him do a majority of the talking for all of these guys, but I would definitely have him do his respected share of talking. But mainly, you can have it all be on Roman Reigns. You can have Roman pretty much be the one that's pretty much simple, to the point, doing his thing, laying down the groundwork verbally, but action speaks louder than words. That's pretty much what I would let it be all about. These guys, when I look at Razier and Akam, and for you all that aren't familiar with NXT right now, you haven't checked out the product in a while, you got to go see these guys. You got to see what I'm talking about. These are some young boys. I mean, they're like 22, 23 years of age, big, strong looking dudes, man. I mean, they got some serious muscle mass to them. These two have a lot of potential as far as like singles career paths go. There's a lot of good potential that's there. Very green right now. Very, very green right now. But I tell you what, man, when you're in a position where you're able to get a hold of talent like these two individuals and they're that young, they are just a big old sponge full of absorbing information. So they've got a really, really, really good long ways to go. Now, here's the thing. As far as, and again, before anybody goes, that's it, because I'm not seeing the comments right now. So before anybody goes, that's a horrible idea, blah this, blah that, understand the standpoint where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the standpoint of evolution. Now, with regards to the authors of pain, as it currently stands right now, contrary to how a lot of people may feel about them right now and their great run that they've been having in NXT, they're still a tad bit green. I'm not going to say they're not ready. I made a promise to you guys a long time ago. The promise that I made to you guys a long time ago was basically, I'm not going to say that person's not ready, because when opportunity knocks, you have to seize that opportunity. I mean, in layman's terms, you're at your job. You've been putting in your respected time for 2, 3, 4, 5 years or whatnot. And your boss says, hey, look, you've been doing a really good job. We really appreciate the work that you've been putting in. You know, we know that you care a great deal about moving up the corporate ladder. You want to be able to provide financially a better life for yourself, your family. And we want to kind of reward you for all the hard work that you've been putting in so far. We want to elevate you. We want to promote you. What are you going to do, honestly? Are you going to honestly sit there and tell them, gee, thanks, but I'm not ready? No. When the opportunity comes and you've really been serious about doing what you need to do to excel in life, you're going to take that challenge and you're going to do everything that you can to try to hit a home freaking run. So this whole philosophy when it comes to wrestling, that person's not ready. I do believe in the terminology of still green, right? And these guys, both of them respectively, they signed their little developmental deals a little while back, and their evolution so far, it's going exactly where it needs to be. Now, keeping all that in mind, the asterisk that I would put respectfully by the authors of pain, I need to see a little bit more of that green get diminished just a little bit. And I think ultimately the way you have some of that green fade away a little bit, just a tad bit, you need to have these guys be surrounded by some veterans. You need to have them not necessarily be aligned with veterans, but you need to have them be in some type of a scenario where you've got access to a Pat Patterson, you've got access to a Fit Finley, you've got access to a Vince McMahon, you've got access to a Triple H, you got access to a Mick Foley, right? You got access to a Chris Jericho. You need to have some type of access like that, because that's truly ultimately the way these guys are going to be able to shake off whatever green they got going on. It's almost kind of similar to when Evolution had first formed. And I remember cold-heartedly when Evolution had first came together. I mean, it was pretty obvious WWE, and you would have just had to been living in the moment back then, because honestly, to see it on the WWE network doesn't really do it justice. But when you first saw Evolution, you saw the Dave Batista, you saw the Ric Flair, you saw the Randy Orton, you saw the Triple H. You knew, hey, okay, it seems as though our eyes kind of need to be on Dave Batista and Randy Orton. They're kind of stringing it along. They were still a bit green, so to speak. And if you lived in that moment, you know exactly that type of green I'm talking about. So I think the way that Razier, I apologize, right? Yeah, I said it right, Razier, and Akeem. Forgive me, guys. I think the way that it's being approached, it would need to be approached with these two individuals respectfully. You kind of have to do them a little bit similar to what came about with Evolution. So that would be the one asterisk that I would put by them, but I would have them pair up with a Roman Reigns. Again, this is just my 2 cents from a distance. We may have different opinions, and like you can have your combination and all that. I'm simply just answering a question that was given to me on the show. So again, the way this works, I get a question, I run off of that question for a couple of minutes, and if it's really on point like that, if it's one of those type of questions where we got to do like a part 2 or a part 3, then I'll go ahead and do that. But this is just a listener question. Longtime listeners of my podcast, they pick my brain from time to time on certain topics, and they want to know, okay, well, how would you go about this? So this was really a good question that we got from Joe that wanted to know, Lee, who would your Shield stable be? So we did part 1 last week. Check out part 1 if you didn't see that. Part 1, I explained why I would stick with the original stable, and I made very good arguments. Part 2, I'm tackling, okay, who would my Shield stable be if I could have it build off of one particular Shield member? So my guy, when it's all said and done, it would be Roman Reigns, because I see so much potential, just storyline wise, just booking wise. I see so much potential with a heel Roman Reigns, but at the same time, I see even more potential with Roman Reigns having some type of a stable around him that would be like a true dominant force to be reckoned with. And I just love the work of the authors of Pain. Still green, yeah, but I tell you what, I got to give them a lot of credit. From when they first came to the scene to where they are now, they have evolved. The thing, though, they need to continue to show those signs of improvement. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying in 3, 4, 6 months from now, they need to be up on the main roster. That's not what I'm saying. Because if we're really going to break it down like that, if it was in my power to pluck some teams or whatnot, some talent from NXT right now that I feel, hey, here's your opportunity, run with it. I think without a doubt, oh my God, what are those guys' names? DIY, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano. I think they deserve to get a call up. Uh, God, who's the other guys? I can't think of their names right now. That old school throwback wrestling team that's down there in NXT right now. Dawson, and I can't picture the other guy. It's on the tip of my tongue. I really don't want to browse the internet right now. And maybe when I read the comments before we get ready to wrap this up, I can kind of go back and say, yeah, that was the team. But those guys, you know who I'm talking about if you watch NXT. I would like to see those guys get the call up to the main roster as well. I think they would do a superb job. But to answer your question, that's the route that I would go. I could even see the circumstances, just the way that you could like really build this if you were to kind of go in the direction that I'm thinking. If you had a heel Roman Reigns with the authors of Pain, I would definitely kind of go in a direction as far as the gear goes. The gear would be a little bit similar to what the original Shield members had wore, but I would like to see them all respectfully fully clothed. I mean, you can do the whole body armor thing, but honestly, if I were to kind of like take a page out of a video game franchise's book and implement it for a new Shield 2.0, there is a really cool game that I love playing from time to time that's called Army of Two. And just when you look at the face mask that the guys are wearing, I would kind of have something similar like that on these guys that would make up the whole Shield 2.0. And to the authors of Pain's credit, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, I could have sworn maybe at some point, and I may have my tag teams mixed up sadly, but I could have sworn at some point there was some type of face mask that they wore. I might have my teams mixed up, so please don't quote me on that. But for a Shield 2.0 stable, that's definitely the route that I will respectfully go in. So I hope that answers your question. Now, I'm going to tease you guys a little bit. I want to go a little bit more into this topic because I have in my head, just freestyle thinking wise, I have the circumstances leading up to a Roman Reigns going heel. I have the situation surrounding the whole Authors of Pain, how the alliance is formed, all that good jazz. But I'm gonna tease you guys with it for now because we got to have something to talk about on next week's podcast. So I'll talk about my whole idea and how WWE could get there with my elaborate blueprint. So you definitely want to check that out. So that's your first teaser right there. Now, I am aware of the breaking news that came about earlier today, and I will definitely do my respected tribute to this man. I definitely was a fan of his work as a kid growing up, and that is George the Animal Steel, who passed away earlier today at the age of 79. And it's so interesting because here, less than 24 hours ago, I did a new RCWR show, and as I was live on the air, it wasn't even like a half hour into that respected show, and already there was breaking news that had came about of Nicole Boss passing away, and I tell you, it was like, damn. And then to follow that up, basically, okay, go to bed, time to go to work. I probably wasn't even at work for like an hour, and already like my social media feed, I was getting private messages, I was getting a couple of emails. Dude, did you hear about George the Animal Steel? And it's like, the fuck is going on here? So to hear that he passed away, and somewhat kind of similar when it's all said and done to Jimmy Snuka. Remember Jimmy Snuka? He went to hospice, right? And then he passed away. George the Animal Steel, he was in hospice and he had died due to kidney failure. I mean, here's a guy like he had it pretty rough these last handful of years. You go back to the late 80s, he was diagnosed with dyslexia, which ultimately resulted in Crohn's disease, and he had a inflammation, bowel disease as a result of all this, just one domino effect leading into another. And when it was all said and done, somehow he was able to go into remission. But to make sure that something like that did not occur again, George the Animal Steel would get colon surgery done, and basically he had his colon removed. So here's a guy that had went through his series of health problems, a respected author, a respected teacher, a pillar in his community, believed in the Lord, was doing his thing at church services, all the whole 9 yards. Like you wouldn't expect that when you see him. You're like, wait, that guy is all of these other things, really? Is and yeah, that's how he was. So I definitely have a lot of fond memories of him. And as I said last night and a couple of weeks back, when I was talking about the whole hospice thing, man, you're not going there for a damn visit. You go to hospice, that's it. That's it. You are basically a dead man walking. It is just a matter of time, sadly, before you expire. It is all about at that point providing you with the best 24/7 care, making you as comfortable as humanly possible. And if you're mentally competent, if you're physically capable, it's pretty much your final days and trying to get your house in order, trying to get some type of a will, trying to get all the financial expenses set up before you pass so that it's not as much of a cumbersome burden, a burden rather, on your family. So I would imagine, and I already know because I saw a little bit here and there, the tributes that's just been pouring out left and right for George Steele. And I would imagine WWE, they're definitely going to do a little something, something. I'm always reminded of the old school commentating when I think about George the Animal Steel, because I grew up on Vince McMahon doing commentating. So a lot of the George the Animal Steel matches that I can recall kind of fondly, especially watching with my uncle or my dad, I can definitely remember Vince McMahon and just how vibrant and colorful he was to really make the animal come to life. So I'll share some more memories about that on this Tuesday's RCWR show. But definitely, my heart goes out to his kids, his family. I'm sure they're probably rocking right now. Hopefully, he's in a better place though when it's all said and done. If you have a question that you like for me to tackle while I'm still live on the air for the next little bit, you can post in the chat. I'll actually poke my head in there and I'll see what you guys are saying in a quick second. So we're dubbing this listener questions and stuff. And the stuff is usually one or two random topics that like have been on my mind that I didn't get a chance to talk about during the podcast that honestly I kind of felt like let's talk about it on here instead. So one topic that's really been kind of like that's interesting, this whole New York Knicks, Charles Oakley, and the New York Knicks owner James Dolan. I'm not going to beat the whole recap and all that. I'm sure if you are a sports fan, a remote sports fan, you know by now what the hell has gone down. I pretty much want to deal with like the aftermath when everything was all said and done. So just indulge me for a couple of minutes. I have some very valid points that I want to bring up here, and I don't really think anybody is quite like talking like this, quite honestly. So I understand that Charles Oakley went to this game. He had some friends and he paid for his tickets. He paid for his seats. I get that. This man has been very critical about what's been going on with the Knicks. And there's nothing wrong with that because when it's all said and done, he played for the Knicks for a good number of years. He's always had a soft spot for the Knicks. It is a team that he just continues to follow to this very day, at least up to this point. And I understand that some of the criticism that he has said about the Knicks over the past couple of years, choice words that he's had for the owner, James Dolan. The owner kind of feeling like, you know what, if that's how you're kind of like going to be, I don't think I really want you here coming to my games. I don't think we're going to give you press passes. I don't think we're going to give you the whole VIP access, all that other jazz. And what we basically had saw went down in a nutshell. I wish it did not happen. Both sides were wrong in the way that they handled it when it's all said and done. This ain't about choosing a side. Y'all that have been listening to me for some years now, y'all know I do my best not to pick a side. I always try to look at all of the standpoints and then just try to go right down the middle for you guys. And this is a case when it's all said and done. Both parties were wrong and how they handled what was an explosive situation that occurred at the Garden a couple of weeks back. But the aftermath of this, to have NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and Michael Jordan via telephone try to get these two guys together in a room and iron out their differences, hammer things out and everything, you know, I wish it didn't have to get to that point, but it unfortunately did have to get to that point. And I just think that it's a damn shame that we have so many news media outlets that spend 20, 30, 40 minutes talking about this. Is it definitely a distraction for the NBA? Does it kind of give NBA a little bit of a black eye? Yes and no, because on the one hand, yeah, it does kind of give the NBA a little bit of a black eye because it's kind of like, what the hell is going on in the NBA here? Rather than all the other good things that's happening right now with a lot of the teams, Washington Wizards, they seem to be picking it up. They started off kind of slow, and now they've really been picking it up. Golden State's doing this thing. LeBron James is probably having like the best career so far, like this season, when you just look at all the statistics straight across the board, especially for like the month of February, how he's been operating, you're like, wow, you know, this guy could be a GOAT, right? So I said could. I didn't say is. I said could. So all that's going on, and you have this that went down, which is just like a distraction, honestly. And I'm so damn glad that the All-Star weekend is here, because like me and my coworkers were talking about this for like all this week, especially. We were like so glad All-Star weekend is happening, because now we can really kind of like put this crap with the Knicks organization in the rearview mirror and focus on some fun, because at the end of the day, I mean, that's what the NBA is like ultimately all about. But if you ask me straight up what I personally would like to see happen going forward with the Knicks organization, with Charles Oakley, look, if Charles is hurt to the point that he feels as though he never wants to go to a Knicks game ever again, that is his right. That is his right. But I tell you what, if I was an NBA owner, let alone the owner of the Knicks, I'm sorry, but if you played for if you played for my team that I owned, even if you were there for like a season, you might have not been the best player. Just the fact that you played for my team that I own and you want to come to a game, okay, no problem. You come in for free. You're my guest. So the fact that Charles Oakley had to pay for his own damn tickets, I mean, that should have been kind of like the first red flag to Mr. Oakley right there. But I tell you, if he doesn't want to go to another Knicks game, that's his right. But I mean, if it was me personally, I would say, you know what, man, you can go to any arena you want to. You are now officially an NBA legend. You've been an NBA legend for many years now. If that's your team, if you love watching them, you want to root them on, just because the owner's not really feeling you, you should not let it hinder your overall experience and going out with friends, family to go see that team. No said. I mean, it's no different than like you being a former NFL player and all that. So I just think it's really silly what's going on with all that. And I'll say this, and this is the part that like I don't think another people are really kind of going into in this direction, which is I really wish that James Dolan, Charles Oakley, Adam Silver and all that. I just wish that they all can just come together and just be like, you know what? These are some like turbulent times that's going on right now in our nation. We have what's coming off to be a very controversial president making unpopular decisions that has the nation greatly divided. And at the end of the day, a lot of these people are looking to us for some type of a getaway. They are looking to us to provide them the escape from reality for a couple of hours. All this craziness that's going down, look, we need to put it to the side, and we all need to come together, and we need to come together for one thing only, and that's for the love of basketball. Plain and simple. And hopefully that was said in the meeting. From the highlights that I saw, I didn't really see it kind of go in that route, but I would like to believe that if it didn't go down, that maybe in the future it can kind of go in that respected direction. Quite honestly, it's just kind of sad when you really think about it. You think about how things are. Everything is just at an all-time high right now, which is another thing that I've kind of been noticing. It's like everybody's like pick a side, and everybody's on this side, and everybody's over on that side. And I just wish there was a lot more harmony, a lot more unity going on in this world right now. So to see one of my favorite sports for pastime, the NBA, and see all this hatred, all this back and forth drama, it's like, stop it already. So I really hope in due time, once both of these guys have had some time, most importantly, away from each other, hopefully age can really kind of bring in the maturity a little bit. And man, why did I do that? That was so stupid. And hopefully they can both get together, hammer things out. And it is what it is, man. It is what it is. But I'm not really feeling it. I'm really not feeling it. So other than that, see, what else can we talk about? There's one more topic I want to talk about, but I really don't feel like going in that direction right now. I'm gonna have that be a cliffhanger. I am looking at how long have I been on the air now? So let's see. I came on at about 9:30. It's about, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna call it a day on this one. So what I will do for you guys next week, I think I might talk about it on the show, but I think I might expand on it a little bit more just to kind of pick you all's brains a little bit. I do want to talk about what's currently going on with this whole ICE crackdown on immigrants. I have a few interesting things to say. I think we'll kick things off on next week's podcast, and then we'll continue it here. And I think the way we'll do it is we'll kind of follow up on here with some of you all's reactions, things of that nature. So, in the meantime, if you haven't done so already, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm at the RCWR show. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Remember, you can catch me every Tuesday night after SmackDown goes off the air, 10 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker.com. And regularly, we try to do this little Q&A and stuff for you guys every Thursday, but we got a little bit sidetracked as I have brought back the 4th annual Slow Jamming with Lee special. I played some really good slow jamming tunes, man. You guys got to check that shit out when you guys get a chance. It was some really good, solid stuff. If you're a big fan of some nice, good, old school romantic ballads and all that, go check it out, man. It was really good. And we did a new RCWR show on Thursday. So by now, we actually have the audio uploaded on YouTube, so you can actually go check it out, or you can go scoop it up on the downloads. And if you enjoy your time here, make sure you give me that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, do subscribe, all that good jazz. And that's going to do it. Wishing all y'all to be safe, be kind to one another. I'll catch you guys next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.